Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Plum Wild recap. This is episode 4. I am Nathan Waddell, the host. I said I wasn't going to call myself the host. I did it again, but driver of the 5 machine in the Pro Series in the World of Outlaws Buttkicker Late Model Pro Series. And then my co-host, I guess this way, would be Damian Kiefer, driver of the number 21 machine in the Pro Series. What's going on, Keef?
Good morning. Good morning. I just woke up from a nap, so you know the vibes.
Yeah, dude. I was worried you weren't gonna be. I was worried you weren't gonna be here. Honestly,
No, I got a built-in alarm clock, so I'm just built different, you know.
you just knew like it was time
Like my
to.
body woke up at 6:40 and said we have a podcast to do.
Yeah, because I like
And
it was 20 minutes and I hadn't heard from you, and I was like, oh no, this is
I took a 3-hour nap. I mean,
Was
it was
it
a good
three
nap.
hours?
It was a 3-hour nap today. Yeah,
Jeez.
that's the first real nap I've taken in a minute, besides the one on vacation.
Oh yeah, the vacation naps always slap, and those were some good ass naps, dude. We
Those were
needed
that was a,
them.
gr- that was a great nap. Even
Yeah.
though we just took a straight up shot, probably 10 minutes before we took a nap, which was
Yeah.
a bad idea. And I did spin for about an hour and a half of the nap. So
Dude, I was so worried I was gonna get the spins at some point, but it didn't happen. Uh, so episode 4, we uh we had this is Wednesday, so 2 nights ago we had Port Royal. Um, it's a big track. Um, Not the most well liked track on the service. Would you say that? I mean,
yeah,
it's
across the board, it's not the most loved.
it's kind of yeah. It's just not it's not good. It was worse. I think it was worse on the old build. I mean, it was top dominant. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, and JD, our last guest, was able to win the pro qualifier there. By running the middle during the feature, but like, I mean, hell, for 99% of the races, I mean, it's just top dominant. But this new build, you run the bottom some whenever it's fresh, and then you kind of transition up to the top. But I think we we had tested a lot, and I I, I don't know. I mean, I was feeling pretty good going in. I mean, we made a fuck ton of laps, didn't we?
Yeah, I think I alone made 1,500 laps, just dialing in the lines and feeling good and confident, knowing I could do whatever I wanted to do. Especially since now we could start running the bottom and the middle there. We never really able to do that before. So kind of a new style. Felt really good though going into it. Yeah, it a lot of laps
I mean,
and put in some time this week.
yeah, you were on a lot, and that's just something that we don't really see out of you much anymore.
No,
It's like you had this drive again this week, and I think Colin Bocus, one of our great friends and teammates over at Apex, longtime friend, especially for me. I mean, I've been with Colin since uh, early 2021, like I think January of 2021, and he stepped up, and he's good at building the setups for the big blocks, and he stepped up and was like, let's figure this out, and we made
we,
a lot of
we worked
laps.
together and
Yeah, and it just kind of made it more fun, really. I
yeah,
mean,
and it was just the homies, you know. It was
yeah,
it was me, it was me and him, and then besides that, it was me and him, and if it wasn't that, it was me. So it was. I mean, I grinded probably the most laps out of us three, but me and him really worked. We worked together there for a little bit, and I was kind of explaining. I was like, "Hey, this is where I'm struggling," and then we found a good balance, and then we started tweaking little things, and we got myself feeling good, and I think we'll be feeling good for the rest of the year almost. And yeah, it's kind of fun just racing with the homies here and the OGs
yeah.
and
Well, I mean,
just the vibes, you know.
I've said it before. I've said it on stream before. Even whenever we're not doing this podcast, like I'm not a setup builder. I don't know jack shit whenever it comes to building setups. I ain't got to tell you that. But Colin, even though he was more on the big block side, he wanted to learn about the late models, and I feel like he picked it up pretty quickly and was able to help you. And like they say, two heads are better than one. And if it
Right.
was just me and you practice, it's just the one head, and then we kind of work together on practicing lines and stuff. But as far as like the
Two brains, one
setups,
setup. It's
yeah,
it's tough. Yeah.
yeah. And we felt like we were lacking speed. Not
Early.
necessarily lacking skill, maybe, but we felt like we were definitely lacking speed for qualifying, and that tacky speed. And I mean, I think we all kind of y'all figured out something, because I really surprised myself. I I'm probably talking really loud. I really started to feel comfortable and started to gain a little bit of confidence
He
that, like,
did.
maybe
This is
maybe
good.
we got a piece here. Like we got some speed here, and as long as we know the line, and you had put so many laps in that you were confident in the line, and you relayed to me the
This
day
is what you
of,
need to do.
really. Yeah, the
This
day
this
of.
is what you're going to do. Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, come practice time, or come time for the whole, race, loaded into the practice session. We had 5 minutes of practice, started on a fresh track. We worked it in pretty good. And
5 minutes.
yeah, 5 minutes of practice. We worked it in pretty good. Not, you know, anything crazy slick or anything, but we worked it in and changed it up a lot. And I was
Almost.
actually going into qualifying, I was really confident that I was like, okay, this is, like, for me, this is actually a pretty easy line to hit. And I think that if I hit it right, I know we got the speed, like we might be able to do something. And Colin had told us, like, if y'all don't qualify top 10
And top 10.
with this shit,
I was
like,
well, I told you if you don't qualify in the top 15, I was gonna cut off my big toe.
yeah, and I didn't want that for you. So I went out there, first lap, um, didn't like it, what I had hit. Uh, so, like, I think coming down the back straightaway, I came to a halt, reset, and we only get 2 minutes of qualifying in Pro Series, and Port Royal is a big track. I was kind of like racing the clock. I was like, oh shit, I might not have enough time here. We I made my lap. I felt really good about that second lap. I thought I got a little too sideways going into three, but I felt fine on center off. And uh, I remember
M
after I checked the standings, I just started celebrating, and that was about as high as it got for me right there. And you ended up you qualified.
Qualified 10th.
Yeah. How did your?
Yeah,
I mean, did you feel good with
I
yours?
felt I felt good. I went into 1 and 2, and I got a slight shove because I'm a squirrel, and I was trying to keep the car as tight as possible to get the most possible speed going through 1 and 2, and just got a little tight, and I shoved there, and I ended up 10th on the boards, which isn't terrible, but
No.
I feel like I know I missed just a little bit out on the racetrack, but 10th, qualifying 10th, I'll take that all day.
I mean, do you
For the
remember?
first week back, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
mean, do
was
you do you remember what you told me? Because we were getting really, really damn confident in this setup and its speed, and just the laps that we had put in, and
Q stuck,
coupled that
baby. That's
with
all you need.
yeah, couple that with the laps that we put in, and the setup that y'all believe that you built. You told me, I think either the day before or the day of, you were like, we got a chance to qualify 1-2 here, and we got half of that. I got one, and you got 10. But
I failed on my end.
first pole for me in Pro Series, not your first. I think you've got two or three.
2, 2, I believe, or
Yeah,
3.
but
I don't remember.
that was about as good as it got for me. um, I I know people were wanting to know, so I guess we'll go ahead and talk about it. I mean, the next thing, was after qualifying. I was feeling really good. Um, and then it was time for heat one. I was starting pole, and like, people think, there's nerves that contribute to mistakes, and that wasn't really it for me. For the mistake that everyone saw, it wasn't really nerves. I think it was lack of practice. I don't ever want to blame the setup or anything. The setup was fast. Everyone else was able to get their car rotated into one. So it was on me. I really wanted to get clear of Kendall off the start, so
Yep.
that I could come all the way up and then yank it
Arc
down
the
and
corner.
get it, yeah, get the arc and get it rotated. Wasn't able to clear them, and with that such a tight angle going in, I should have whipped it, like the whole right hard then left hard. Just I feel like I did. I go back in the replay and I watch, and I feel like I did, but obviously not hard enough, and it all kind of went downhill from there. Uh, I shoved all the way up the track. Thankfully, if we're looking at positives here, I'm just glad that I didn't take anyone out in that. That would have made me not only frustrated, but also like I guess disappointed would be the word, or embarrassed. Well, it's already embarrassing, but like just feel bad for ruining other people. So I'm glad that I didn't take anyone out. And then ultimately, I just didn't even make the fucking feature. So that's probably a first. It's probably one of the few times that someone's qualified pole in a late model Pro Series race and not made the damn feature. So that's a little embarrassing. But you know what? I've told a couple of people this. Always try to learn from my mistakes and in racing especially, and also learn from what I did right. And you know, I think with even more practice this week, with more situational practice this week, with like we were talking with having a guy on your outside and now your angle is different. Just getting all that practice in, and then looking at the positives that I was able to qualify on the pole. Like, believe it or not, I'm actually feeling pretty confident going into next week at Knoxville. So um,
Q
I'm trying
all
to,
we need.
yeah, Q stuck is good. I'm trying to stay positive about it. Still, obviously, very disappointed. But if y'all haven't checked out my TikTok that I made about the whole situation, I suggest you go check it out. I'm pretty proud of that one. I feel like that one's pretty funny. But you, let's see,
Heat
you
two.
qualified 10th, so
Heat
you
two started third.
Heat 2 started third. Did you finish third? You finished
I
fourth.
finished third.
You finished
Third.
third. Okay, so you,
And followed JD, and then I think Rumsey won the heat race.
yeah.
Got under JD early, like the first 2 laps, and I ended up actually bumping him one time. And I was gonna have to bump him and move him to kind of get past him. And I don't, that's not me. So I ran third because I was content with myself and starting 10th in the feature, and I wasn't really up to push anything.
Well, I mean, JD told us last week that he doesn't even run a spotter, so he wouldn't have even known. You could have just moved him out of the way and said that he came down on you. He would have had no clue at
Yeah,
all. But you
yeah.
had you ran the feature, so you started 10th. I feel like you dropped back a little bit.
Early, I got stuck on the top. It was just bottom dominant the first 20, I'd say, and just got stuck on top there early. And then luckily we had a good caution there. I think I was restarting like 14th on the caution, and I dropped back to. We got a good decent start, and I dropped in line in between James Edens and Drew Hopkins on the bottom, like right off the rip. Like, it's the first thing I did on the restart was just get down,
Yeah, I
and
remember
then
that. You got lucky with such a big opening that you were able to just come down right in there.
just come right down. And so then I just rolled bottom. Drove up to 7th actually. I think it was in 7th in like lap 25. Me and Dylan Wilson had a pretty good battle there,
Hmm.
and then D Will got by me, and I was riding there. I felt decent about lap 35, and I saw Buchanan catching up to us, and he was digging, and I was like, you know what, I think I can get up on the wheel, and I started getting up on the wheel, and I got a little bit carried away. Then I'm coming down the front straight away. After Robbie threw a slider, I cut down, and then on entry of 1, I tagged him with my right rear
Uh-huh.
quarter panel, which everyone knows whenever you do that, it's game over.
Yes.
So I tried to cut down the racetrack and run the bottom so I wouldn't kill him,
You cut
and
too
I
early.
killed the wall. I cut too early, killed the wall, and then I killed the outside wall right in front of Robbie and ripped his left front off. So kind of no, right front off.
It was left front, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the corners we ripped off. Wasn't
Yeah.
on purpose. It's just I know what would have happened if I would have tried to enter the corner. I would have just pile drove him straight through the fence and won, and that's just not right.
Yeah.
But so instead, I pile drove him after I hit the wall,
Well,
and he kind of
speaking of Robbie Buchanan, let's go ahead and bring in our special guest for this episode, and that is Robbie Buchanan Jr. Robbie,
got dreads.
you got a copy.
Yes, sir.
All right, your camera is not on. Let's see.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, is it? All
Yeah,
right.
you're just a squirrel. Maybe if you
Hmm.
look at the screen.
How do I go out of this? Let's see. Grid. There we go. All right. Yeah, there we go. All right. So we got Robbie Buchanan, driver of the number 31, Majula C Speed Shop, VLR, CFM Esports, all
Sweet
that.
victory.
Yeah, all that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a whole conglomerate of sponsors. Robbie, you're sitting, I think, 13th in the points. You've made 3 of the features so far out of the 4, right? You missed Fairbury.
Yeah.
But at Port, I think self-proclaimed one of your best tracks. I think most people would say, at least on the old build, I know for sure. You finished 8th in the feature, man. How are you feeling after that one?
Well, I knew it'd be a pretty fun race, and qualifying we tested all week for that because I can't qualify very good. I ain't qualified good all season. So we qualified I think 15th, 16th or something like that. Started 4th in Heat 3, and it was just bottom dominant, and I ran middle first lap. Everybody I think piled up or something, and I went down and got the bottom, and I kept missing bottom, and I think Leducer was behind me, and I was just hoping he wouldn't hit me, and got the final transfer spot, and we started 15th. I was saving for a lot of the race. Well, first lap, I got 5 spots in turn 1 because everybody, on top pushing to the wall or,
So we were
pushing
scared, weren't
something.
we?
Yeah. And, I just stayed on the bottom for a little bit, and the middle got some marbles, and I just started running that. And, I seen everybody on top, and I didn't have a spotter spot me, so I just seen the lap times and seen people running on top, and I was like, if I just stay middle for 10 or 15 more laps, I'll be better than everybody at the end. And I finally started, going to the top because I figured it's time to go. So I went to the top, and me and Kiefer got in a battle, and
Oh,
I knew he
geez.
didn't mean to do it. I hit the inside wall, and I tried to cut down, but it was a little bit too late, and nailed Kiefer.
What were the
I was
emotions
kind of
like after that?
Yeah,
wanna
I
you
was a
had to
know.
little
be.
mad. I was a little mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I was like, whenever it happened, I just felt so terrible. But I think I may have made you tight a little bit on entry because whenever I
Yeah,
killed
you
you,
hit me
I
like
couldn't.
you tapped me on the straightaway, and then you put me in the wall a little bit, and then I got super
Yeah,
tight.
yeah, no,
But
that was just a bad deal, and I was like, I'm not trying to do this. I should have just tried to hit the bottom. But
yeah,
my goal was to slide you, but whenever I tapped you, I stuck to you, and I'm like, oh no, this is not good.
But Robbie,
yeah,
you had this
Weren't you up to
insane amount
fifth?
of left front damage, and you still, you know,
You were up to, I think you was
were
up
up
to fifth
there
there, battling for the
battling.
for second in the lead there for
yeah.
Yeah.
briefly for a little bit.
I was at 6th, and then I seen everybody sliding each other, and I was like, if I can just stay right here for the next couple of laps and find an opening, I can maybe slide. But I think it was 3 or 4 to go. Out of 4, Rumsey and Dylan Wilson got together.
Yes,
And
and then you got
they
caught up. You know,
yeah, I got caught up in that, and I just kept it wide open. I was like, I don't even care, I'm just gonna go to the bottom and try to make it through it. And I finished coming out 8th. It's not, I'll take that for sure, but I was a little mad after the race. I knew I could have got probably 5th or so, maybe even better.
Especially without all
and
that damage from Kiefer.
left
Damn it,
front
Kiefer.
damage.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
I mean,
really
what were you
killed it.
thinking, dude?
I don't, it happens. It happens.
So, Robbie, you specifically about Port Royal, you're so good there, and you were especially so good there on the last build. You were contending for the win in the top split, pro qualifier. It was the old build, but with all that confidence of being so good there, did any of that really translate? Because everyone that I've talked to that was really good on the old build at certain tracks, like I think whenever we talked to to JD, I asked him about his confidence for transitioning from one track to the next that he was good at, and then myself winning at Cedar Lake, like for the Cedar Pro Series race on a completely new build. None of that confidence was really there because it's so different. How was it for you? Was there confidence just because you know how good you were there on the last build, or was it kind of the same?
We tested all week and we were doing pre-gens and different kind of stuff, and we seen, the wall didn't come in as much like at all. So in the heats we knew it wouldn't come in because we tested for that.
Hmm.
Which that's where I was good at on the old build. Which I mean it's pretty
Right.
much you had to
That
run
was
there.
right,
So
right.
yeah,
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 old build it was top.
yeah, no doubt, yeah. Um, but we tested all week and we found the bottom, and that's where we just tested pretty much every single session was just trying to run the bottom for qualifying. And but we ran middle in the marbles for qualifying. It was a weird line, and
Yeah.
I didn't run it good enough. Jaeger, he was third, I think, and he shared his screen where he ran, and I was nowhere near high enough for the line. So I was 2 tenths off or so, but
Yeah.
it was all right. I mean, yeah, the confidence kind of flowed in the feature because I knew I'd be good on the wall when it went up there, so I was just kind of being patient with it. But yeah, when it went to the wall, I felt pretty good.
They told us that Tyler Hudson had told us that, because I had seen it in officials and in practice, that just slamming the right side against the wall whenever it's built up and the wall's fast, slamming the right side against the wall, not just the right rear quarter panel but the right front
The
too,
right
like
front.
Hmm.
slamming that and just going was so fast. And Tyler had told us that that's penalizable, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so all we were really allowed to do was bounce the right rear off of it. I think he told us that or that was in the pre-race briefing
Yeah,
the
that
day
was
of.
like
Did
the first
that
Sunday,
did that kind of
Sunday
change
or Monday.
did that kind of change your confidence about running the wall because it changed the way that you were allowed to run it, or were you already kind of running it like that, the legal way?
I was kind of running the legal way. I mean, sometimes you would stuff the right front end and not mean to do it, but
Right.
Yeah,
um, yeah, I was just testing to run it correctly, so I didn't get the penalty. You know what I mean?
right.
Um, but in Wotail and Sunday, I think I got some quarter panel or some spoiler damage, and I didn't. It affected me so bad on the straightaways, and I was surprised because when I got that left front damage from in the Pro Series, I was like, "This is gonna kill me. I'm gonna fall back to like 15th or so."
Right.
But I don't know, like the spoiler damage feels worse to me on the straightaways than the nose damage does. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is, but
yeah.
I just wanted to keep the car clean and do the best I could. But I mean, I didn't really plan on trying to hit it with the out front too much because I've seen 3 and 4 and officials that whole week. There was a lot of people breaking their out front on it, so I was like, I'm
Not gonna
just don't
risk
break the
it.
out front.
Not gonna risk
Yeah.
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
understand that.
Don't rip the tire off.
yeah.
Well,
I
so
did.
you're yeah, you ripped it off. You hit the wall the wrong way, Kiefer. Really the
Yep.
wrong way. Um so,
I was actually practicing the right front wall tap until he
yeah,
said no.
I was
Because
getting
and we were testing, and there was many times where where there's one time in specific. I have a video of it where I
yeah.
did it around Colin Bocus, and it was like 5 tenths. And it was ridiculous. And then I started hitting it every lap, and I'm like,
Yeah.
if they let us do this, this is going to be the wildest race.
I
And then they
dude,
posted the next day day of that we weren't allowed. I was like, all right, that's fine. That makes this a little bit more enjoyable because I was
yeah.
about to right front shove every
Yeah.
corner.
It was getting so frustrating because I was testing and I wasn't really able to do it as consistently as Kiefer is or was, and so it was getting very frustrating. And obviously, it's not something that you would do in real life, not at least as many times as
Not
he
off the
was
right
doing it in
front.
a freaking on a run. So I was getting kind of frustrated, and I'm glad that they did that. That they told us that we can't really do that. So Robbie, you're a Pro Series rookie. Um,
Hmm.
First 4 races, you've made 3 of them. How are you feeling so far right now? I mean, you're sitting in 13th. Obviously, I'm sure you'd love to be up there in the top 3 in points, wouldn't we all? But sitting 13th in the points, made 3 of the features so far. I mean, how are you feeling about how it's gone so far? All things
I was very
considered.
excited the first night when I made the show because all I wanted to do was make the show that night, and then you keep going, you keep wanting to get more every single week.
Right.
And the next week we didn't make the show, so I was pretty down about that. And then we made the show at Cedar, which was just a terrible race. Like,
That
I
was
mean, that
real
was
fun to
bad.
watch.
That was
Yeah,
terrible. Like, we made that feature, and then going into week 4 was pretty confident because we made most of the features. But for the rest of the series, after making majority of features, I just wanted top 10 each feature would be very nice. But I'm pretty confident.
yeah. And the top 10 is a great goal. That's kind of what I told. Well, I got a bet from Stephen Calavote. I couldn't run top 10 this at Port Royal, which I didn't, but I was there. If I wouldn't have killed the wall, I was there. But no, and that's kind of like my goal now is top 10s every week, and it's not easy by any means, but
No.
it's not impossible, especially with your caliber and who you guys are working with. You guys are working with a great team, and I imagine you'll be up front in a possible top 5 here soon, hopefully.
I hope so. I really I thought I was pretty confident of getting a win maybe Monday, but I knew it'd be very hard with everybody in there,
Yeah.
And when I seen how I qualified, I was like I feel like I can make the show, but I don't know if I'm gonna win with this qualifying. So
Right.
going to the feature, I was just wanting to get top 10, and
Yeah.
we did it.
Yeah,
And
you gotta
that's
kind of
kind of
adjust your
Hmm.
expectations once things don't start. You just kind of adjust
Yeah,
and go from
you got to
there.
roll and you got
Yeah.
to adapt. And you got to tell yourself, "Oh, I'm going to have to race my tail off at
yeah.
Port Royal for 50 laps to get up front."
Hmm.
And it was actually kind of I know the race wasn't like it wasn't something that knocked your socks off by any means, but the like driving wise at Port Royal to me was just like super fun because it was like full tilt or nothing.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was super
And
fun. I've always loved that track.
it was
and
fun to
like even in
watch.
Q, like I told Nathan, I was like, don't lift, like just don't even think about it. Like it's and especially like even in the heat race, like in my heat race, I don't think I ever cracked the throttle, and it was just crazy, just like the surreal speed that like Port Royal actually felt like compared to what it did old build. Old build it kind of felt slow going around there, and this build I felt like we were cruising.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
this
we're
build
on
has a
him.
lot more grip for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the speed feeling is actually kind of cool to feel. I mean, I don't know how fast it is compared to like IRL times at those tracks with those cars, but it, the driving style now with the new build, I think, is a lot more fun than it used to
Yeah,
be because you got to actually hustle these cars now and throw them in the corner, and if you get her jacked sideways, you're gonna be absolutely terrible. And then if you got to have enough dig off, it feels good, and I actually enjoy it more
Well,
than I have in the past.
Robbie, I don't know how long specifically you've been on iRacing. I didn't look that up. I do remember racing against you sometime last year, and the amount of improvement that I saw from the times that I had raced you last year, kind of late in the year, probably was whenever the first couple times that I started racing against you, to how good you were starting to get there by the time qualifiers were coming around, was just insane. How long have you been on iRacing?
since I think March of last year.
Yeah.
Um, I just kind of got into it. I didn't expect it to be what I am now. I just kind of wanted to do it for fun and just race some money races here and there, but nothing like serious. And then I finally, cause I think it was 2 months into the sim, maybe a month and a half, something. Nick Lanier, NLRA, he
Yep.
see me. I think I was at 1800 or something like that, and I was in a, I just joined in there and hang out sometimes. And he texted me one day. He was like, "Come here, I want to talk to you." And he said, I want to hire you or like, a prospect. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
So I was a prospect for about 2 weeks, and he spotted me for a race, and that's when I got on the team. And it took me about 3 or 4 months to get on Mid South Mafia, which was like the higher class of NLRA.
Yep.
Um, and then some stuff happened, and then I left Magilla C, NLRA, all that. And then I came over to Apex for like it was
I do
yeah, it was
remember
like
that actually.
a month and a half or something like that.
And
And
I don't
then
even
I
think
got
I was on the game half the time.
yeah, I texted you and I got honestly frustrated. I was like, he's not texting me back. And then I
He's
was
a
like, he
horrible
probably don't got a lot of
texter.
time.
I'm
Yeah.
terrible. I'm honestly the worst texter you
It's
could
so
probably ever
bad.
have texted.
It's so bad.
Yeah, like today, like I texted Nathan 20 minutes before the podcast started, and I was like, I just woke up from a nap.
It's bad.
Yeah, no, the texting game on the DQ side of things is terrible. I
Yeah.
leave everybody either on not red. I just don't even open it because then I don't have like on Snapchat. Like I don't even have to answer it. Like,
Right. So you were at Apex, Robbie, then
went back
continue.
to
And then I went back to Magilla C, and that's where I'll stay for my iRacing career until if it ever ends or anything. It's like a family over there to me. They accept you. But yeah, I didn't really expect it to be what it is now. I never expected to be in Pro Series until about maybe it was like September, and I was like getting pretty good, and I was like, I'm gonna go for pro when it comes around,
yeah.
and it just went from there.
What
Yeah.
was the kind of defining moment for you whenever you kind of realized like, okay, I can compete at this level?
Um, well, I felt really good. I think it was a throwback race that James Braswell hosted
Yep.
at Llama Land. So I ran that and I started on like the pole, I think, and
Was
I
that one
got
of the
killed. I
ones
don't
that
remember really.
was that one of the ones that was a random draw for the like no qualifying random draw for the heats? Because that's usually
Yeah, it was. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you started on the pole by that.
I got pole at heat one. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Um, and I started on the pole. I led like 10 laps, 15 laps, and then I got slid by Blake. And then I just rolled around second for a little bit, and I got impatient and tried to slide Blake, and I just didn't clear it. I didn't try to. I slowed down like last second, and then
Yep.
I got passed by like 2 cars, and then I was in fourth, and then I don't remember who threw a slider, and then I got into the wall, and yeah, my whole race was just over. But I felt really good after that, and I was like, I think I can compete.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean
And
that's how it goes. It's just like sometimes whenever you just put yourself in those situations to try to compete at that level, you either realize that you can or you can't, or you need to practice, and then you might be able to. So I mean, yeah, that's that's kind of how it went for me. I was just able to start competing against those guys and was able to run well, and that's kind of whenever I realized like I might have a shot at this. So, but I mean, you Pro Series driver now. I mean, what's I mean, you what are you like 15,
14.
14? What do you friends
Hmm.
think about it? I mean, pro, do you call yourself a pro? You know what I mean? Like not many people if you really
I
think about it, not many people can call themselves a pro at something.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who watch actually. And I have one friend who he's a big Xbox guy. He plays on Xbox and he races the World of Outlaws game.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
He's pretty cool. We've been friends for a while, and he just always texts me about how's my races going. And when I post a car on Snapchat or something like that, he's like, "Looks really good," whatever. Just super supportive friend. Um, but I think it's a pretty cool deal. I mean, they want to get into iRacing, but I don't. I just think their parents won't let them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
They've always had Xbox, so I think they're just scared to get a PC. But
Yeah.
it's the best thing they ever could do.
The PC
Yeah.
life is the great life. There's so many
Mhm.
more options of just anything and everything that you could do.
I mean, personally, I'm glad that one day in 2020 I decided to make the leap and buy a PC and buy the wheel and pedals, and because I'd been watching people do iRacing, and I was like, I want to try my hand at it. Finally, one day I bought everything, and I'm glad that I finally made that leap back in 2020. So the new update, everybody, we always talk about the new update, but the timing was just so crazy for us, that we're in the qualifiers and then made the Pro Series because as soon as the qualifiers were done, we got a completely new build. So it was like, I'm sure there was, I mean, myself, I was worried like, fuck, I might suck on this build. And I think I did for a while, and I probably still do. But what was it like for you, knowing that You made it in, and now there's a whole new build. When did you kind of build up the confidence and I guess I should say, when did you feel confident that this new build wasn't going to hurt you, that you were still going to be able to compete at the pro level?
I think the day of the build, I got on and tested it at night, and I was just completely lost because on the old build when it's tacky, you had to be real easy on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we found a set that night that you can just be hammered down and it was fast. And I was very confused. I was like, I never, got to experience hammer down tacky. It was
Right.
always on the pedal just barely. And I was pretty confused the first week or two, and then I finally got the hang of it in official races. I don't remember what week it was, but um, it was a very hard thing to adapt to because like you said, after pro qual, there's a whole new build, everything. So it's just everything that you learned on the old one just gone. You don't know anything about this new one. You got to test, build confidence, just a lot of things new.
So when did that
Yeah,
confidence
and
really come in that you could still compete at the
Um,
pro level after on a new build?
well, I think it was spring fling practice races. I finally got the hang of everything because that was like the first competitive, thing on the new
yeah,
build. So you had to really test for it and get ready for it. But practice races really got used. I got used to the build, and unfortunately in the prelims, my power went out and I was running ninth in a transfer spot for the fling.
I remember that.
So that was pretty rough. But my
RIP.
confidence dropped when that happened, and I had to build it back.
Well, that's just
And
confidence in your equipment, not confidence in your ability.
yeah,
Yeah. But it
I
just made
mean
me pretty sad.
that's tough.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Kiefer?
I don't even know.
You don't even
I
know.
don't remember. But that's
So,
the spring fling to me was like I thought I was decent then, and then I started like not. I didn't. Well, I grinded for the fling for days, and then I stopped. I didn't grind anything for pro series, and it was just bad deal for me.
so
But
Holtmeyer in the chat, uh, wanting to know, I guess Holtmeyer's really just wanting to know our opinion on the current build, and the stuff that needs to be fixed. I guess I'll just ask. I think me and Kiefer have talked about it a lot. Robbie, what are your opinions on the new build? I mean, you've never raced in real life, have you?
No.
Okay, so not like you have something to compare to, but as far as overall,
feeling.
overall feeling, driving, racing, you were on that last build and got really good on that last build. I mean, how are you feeling about this new build? What are your thoughts on it?
Um, it's a whole lot different. I feel like the wall tapping is definitely kind of the same. You just gotta kind of figure it out.
Yep.
I think it's a good build. I just think the tower is a little bit over exaggerated.
Yes.
It gets very bad very fast. I mean that, like I said, I've never been in a real car, so I don't know how that feels. But um, I mean, it's definitely a good build. I think they could change some things on it to make it way better than it is. But
Right.
comparing to last build, I think this one's better. But
Yeah. I
I
think
never got to race on the old build.
Yeah,
I wish I did because
yeah.
I heard a lot of good thing about that. So
right.
I wanted to, but yeah, I just never got to.
I wish we could
Yeah.
figure out a way.
I mean,
Yeah.
I only ran the old build for like 2 months, and I thought the last build was like the best build, but that's just me. But I didn't race the old build long enough. But now I feel like the driving of the cars is just a lot better. I think the tracks need work and the tire wear needs a little work, but it's a stepping stone in the right direction, I believe.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
I
think
agree.
like Holtmeyer and Robbie and Kiefer have said, like tire wear needs to be slowed down a little bit. Um, Holtmeyer is saying fix why the slick is as grippy as it is. That needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
I think
The
visually some
tracks.
stuff needs to be fixed on how the track looks uh, with how it's actually racing or how much grip it's giving. Like I feel like visually, with how really the whole way that the track was on the last build, I think it was as close as you can get, minus how fast it wore out. The mud was slow. The light brown was pretty fast. The kind of that light slick wasn't too bad, and then the dark slick was slick. I mean, that was
Yeah.
it just wore too fast. And I think that if we could get that on this current build, with the reduction of the rate of tire wear, I think we would be in really really good shape. But who knows whenever that'll happen. I mean, I don't know, honestly.
I think they said in September, like that would
Yeah.
be the next
I mean,
possible update.
yeah,
Is it
it would
too
probably
far
be a
away by
lot.
any means? Because it's August now, so.
Yeah, that's like a month
But
away
if they
though.
changed it in the middle of Pro Series, that would be kind of cool.
Well, we do have the
I mean,
off week for the build week,
yeah.
for the 2023 season 4. So,
Yeah, so that there is a possibility they could change things
yeah,
up for the last, 3 or 4 weeks. That would be kind of. I mean,
A lot of
it
grinding would go into that.
it'd be a lot of grinding, but like I think it would be a bit better if they do the things that they're saying they're gonna do.
yeah, I
And
think
I think Rumsey or JD may have said something in the Discord about I think it was the brown, like the brown being slicker than the actual slick was,
Yes.
and it was in Cedar Lake. I tried running down there like to catch a grip, and it was just like sliding everywhere, like no grip.
Yeah,
And
like
when you
you
got in the
couldn't even
slick, it
put
was
your
just
left rear in
yeah,
in the
it was
tracks, and
terrible. Yeah,
you
it's
were
like they
just
were
rolling
opposite.
through the
yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
backwards.
the light slick, the light colored slick was like way slicker than the dark colored slick, and
yeah,
it's so
yeah,
weird. And I think it's made it kind of confusing because like where I see, you know, what should be grip, and I go there, it's like I just spin, and it's.
yeah,
But
And it's like starting out like the 50-lap run on your first 5 laps. You're like,
right.
what am I doing? You feel like you've never drove a race car
yeah.
before.
But
And
I
then
think,
the grip starts coming
yeah,
back, and
it's weird. It's so weird. It's been
it's
something to
odd.
adjust to. But we've
I
talked
wish we
about
could
it.
just,
What?
I wish we could just run like a like the feeling of a heat race is like the best feeling in these cars. And
Yeah.
like whenever we get to feature time, I feel like it's like, well, it's almost like old build when it's feature time.
That's what I was just about to say. Like we've talked about it before. I feel like the most similar aspect of this new build to the old build is whenever it's feature time. Like the cars, you kind of
As
drive them
for
the
its
same
like
if it's kind of
pedal
slick,
feel and
unless it
pedal
rubbers.
feel. Yeah,
Rubbers.
then it's
Yeah.
But
you guys should probably lock down. Like that was probably the most fun you've had in the years in that race. No,
at
I can't
Port
say that. It's
or at
bad.
Cedar.
Hater.
Yeah, that was rough. But I want to try this. I want to see if we can get the Plum Wild moment of the week going here.
This ought to
Uh,
be good.
None of us were in it.
I know.
But let's
Sadly,
see here.
we couldn't use mine Buchanan. I got outvoted actually. It was like I was thinking that to do me and yours encounter for the week, the Plum Wild moment of the week, but there's something much better
Yes,
and had a lot more chaos.
if I can get it to go full screen here. It's being slow. There we go. B main, folks. B main. This, I mean, Robbie,
B-main.
you had the pleasure of watching it just like we did.
Hmm.
Obviously, I was a little frustrated at this point. I had just not made the feature, so I didn't. I wasn't in the mental space to take in how great this was. But looking back on it, I mean, this was crazy. Honestly,
Ugly.
I hope this doesn't lag. But I mean, right off the rip, we have a horrible start. I mean, everybody dies just about.
It was 4 wide.
I mean,
St. Clair dies.
Poor St.
Oh,
Clair.
who
He
was
went all the way
that? I
down
don't
to
even
the
remember
bottom.
that.
What? Who was when?
There was people, so many people flying everywhere there, dude. That's crazy.
Loic, Talon. You had
Who's in
Jesse
the back there?
Wall, Ethan
Who came?
Toder,
What's
Pace
Jed
going on?
Mike in
Cart.
there, I think too.
Oh yeah, Jesse Wall. Go in Jesse Wall cockpit here real quick and
All right.
replay this.
I hope it's not lagging. Someone let me know in the chat if it's lagging. But
It's not.
okay, let's see. Cockpit.
This is
So let's just start
This
from
has
the
gotta be
beginning
good.
here. Well, really, before we get to that, what really started all this was
I
Blake
think Blake and Ev or Mike.
you about
and
said Blake and Evan. Blake and Augustine. I mean, they're really close here right off the start. This is bound to happen because whenever you get on it, the car kicks out. I mean, that's gonna
Yeah.
happen,
And
and
they touch here, and it's just they get stuck.
it's chaos. So let's watch it. You said you wanted to see it from Jesse Wall's perspective here for his
We're going
misfortune.
on a ride here. Here in a second, we are going on a ride.
He
Oh,
rode.
it gets
He
twirly,
actually. Oh Jesus,
and then he
Oh
gets
man.
turned, and then he's just dead.
that is. He did he ride on the top of freaking Talon Willis's car?
Yes.
He did. Oh, that's just unfortunate for everyone outside of like the three that made it through, quote unquote. I mean, they didn't really make it through unscathed, but so you ended up with basically just a three-way race or four-way race for it with Blake Murray, Caden Honeycutt, Mike Augustine, and Logan Herbert.
Yeah.
At this point, I thought like, well, Caden and Blake are just going to run away with it, but Augustine caught up really quick.
Yeah. And him and there was a really good battle of that. That was a really good battle of the heat race. There were some sketchy slide jobs thrown plenty of times.
This was just so wild. I mean, and Caden was being so aggressive this entire race.
Kate has probably been the most aggressive person on
So
tour
aggressive.
this year because he just throws some wild slide jobs.
Yeah.
Wild. Like just
so
far out there.
aggressive, bro.
And I'm like, wow, he just did that.
And usually it doesn't. I mean, I don't think he's killed anybody.
No, but it's just. I'm like, wow. Looking like Robbie Buchanan on a cushion, but slide job form.
This was
Yeah, Mike
and
was in the Discord talking to us, and he was all like, we were all telling him go get him, and I had never seen him rip the wall that hard here. Like he was wanting to get into this feature so bad.
He was driving pissed off.
Yeah, he was driving real mad, like Ricky Thornton, but
Yeah.
he got in contact with, I think it was Herbert, and he was really mad. He was just, his knot was done.
Look at Joel Berkeley was freaking spotting for somebody, said that was impressive off of talking about the start there of this B main.
Yeah.
Blake was we were in Discord with Blake. I mean, Blake this whole series has just been like
whatever, dude.
Yeah, whatever, if I make the feature, great. I mean, he's made more features than me, damn it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even care. Whatever.
Maybe you just don't need to care.
I care too much. I care too much. So this was at this point I was really thinking like maybe this is just how it's going to end. Everybody's riding the wall, nobody's going to be able to do anything, but folks, it gets wilder. Here's another wild slider. That allows Augustine and Herbert to catch up.
It was a crazy beat. Like that was like the best racing besides the death on turn 1.
There's Logan. Yeah, Logan.
This one I talked to Logan a lot. I like him, but this was bad, Logan. This was bad. I don't know what he was thinking here. I mean, I guess maybe he did leave a lane and Caden kind of cut down, but still, that was pretty bad. And then
that was gonna be super close.
It was gonna be close either way, and then it creates some chaos here.
I'm pretty sure
somebody drove through someone here.
It's right here coming out of 4.
Okay.
Blake's smooth sailing. He's happy to see all this in his mirror.
Yeah.
Is it not? Oh, it's out of 4 on the last slide. This is white. This is white flag. It is out of 2.
It's out of 2 right
here.
Look
at that slider from Caden. Dude, that's a bomb.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like he threw this slider. Whenever I saw this, was like, oh boy.
And I think it looks like Augustine kind of got stuck in the wall and couldn't cut
Yeah.
down because that was clear by a lot. I
Yeah.
mean,
And then if you touch the wall here in 1 and 2, to be fair, like he did, you're not getting off of it. And then this was like so cute.
Oh my god.
If I was Augustine, I don't know what I'd say. I'd be so frustrated, and I feel for him here.
Oh, dude, he was already mad, and he was just even more. Oh my god, you should have heard him. Like he was
Yeah,
fired up.
I don't know. Oh, that's the craziest shit, dude. And then somehow Caden just gets in.
Yep.
I mean, they were in the shape of an arrow, dude. Right here, look. This is the shape of an arrow.
right there.
That
Right
was
there.
just crazy.
I mean,
The fact that not all of them wrecked. Like, what if all of them? Like, who's in 5th? Was there anyone in 5th?
well, we'll just have to pull up the
That
results.
I
Yeah,
don't
St. Clair 10 laps down. St. Clair 10
yeah.
laps down in 5th. If he would have stayed out and just limped around, imagine that like he doesn't go a lap down. All three of these guys die right here, and St. Clair,
would have
takes
got
it.
it. That would have been
Takes the final
interesting.
transfer. That right here.
It was the Plum Wild moment
That's
of the week.
yeah, that's the Plum
That and the start.
Wild. Yeah, the start especially, but that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Plum Wild moment of the week. That was something. What were you? I mean, you said you were in Discord with him, Robbie. What were you thinking watching all that? Were you like just as entertained as the rest of us?
Well, I wanted him to get in the show because he was
Right.
already pissed off about everything that went on, and coming off before that white flag, I was like, you got her. He's gonna slide you here. We all were screaming slide and sliding, and honestly, in my opinion, it's kind of on him. He should have tried to get out of the wall and cut down, but sometimes you just can't.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's what
Especially in
happened.
1 and 2, like if you just catch it with the right front there, like you're stuck. Like you're not getting off.
Yeah, and then he out of 2, he was like
Screaming.
fired up, and he just went over the mic. He was like, "You're an idiot, Logan." I was like, "Oh boy." I was like, "This is not good."
Yeah.
He was junk. Everybody was in Discord just like, "Wow, wow," and it was a very fun B main. It was probably the best B main I've ever seen, honestly.
Yeah, it was very entertaining.
Yeah.
Besides the 5 deaths in turn 1, 5 casualties, and then we had 2 more casualties at the end. So it was pretty much a fight to the end.
Yeah.
It was Battle Royale.
Yeah.
It was a battle royale.
Yeah. iRacing World of Outlaws Buttkicker late model pro battle royale. I mean, that's what it was, dude. That was. I know the comment. I went back and watched the broadcast. The commentators were loving it. I mean, why wouldn't they? That's the
that
most
was
action
awesome.
they've seen all season, dude.
Yeah.
Well, coming off of Cedar Lake, like they just watched 50 laps with maybe one. Now there's probably 6 passes, and they were all in the first lap. So they were probably a little excited to see some excitement amongst the drivers.
Yeah. So that was the Plum Wild moment of the week. That kind of recaps Port Royal. So next up, we got Knoxville. I love Knoxville personally. Robbie, how are you feeling going into Knoxville?
I'm dreading that. I've never liked Knoxville.
Really?
I tested on this new build. Still don't like it. I just don't like. I just never have. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just can't seem to find grip there. I just don't like it. It's just weird.
See,
Go ahead.
I'm a big fan of, not a major fan, but I'm a pretty big fan of Knoxville. I have a lot of good memories there, and I have a lot of good race like there's I've had a lot of good races there, and I've had a lot of success there. I've beat some of the best there, and personally, I think Knoxville is almost completely different than any other racetrack in the game. Just solely, not because of the banking and it's super wide. The track usually races really well. It's super tough. And if you want to run the bottom, like you have to be perfect. If you want to run the middle, you have to be like it. Knoxville is I'd say one of the toughest tracks to be very successful at and consistent at. Like it's whole other animal.
I've always said Knoxville. Vickers disagrees in the chat, but I've always said Knoxville. Once it gets a little slick, I think Knoxville is one of the best racing tracks. It was that way on the old build. Me and Kiefer practiced.
Way too many
Was that
times.
last night? That was last night. We practiced and
Last night,
we
yeah.
were having a blast ripping laps. I think
We were killing each other, right, man? It was great.
it was a great time. Robbie, I was in your shoes. I did not like Knoxville for the longest time. I couldn't figure it out.
Hey, he was like so stubborn about it too.
Oh,
Like
I
he's like,
hated it.
"That's
And
this place, man."
yeah, it was.
Terrible.
I just didn't. At no point did I ever like that track in until I tested with Kiefer one night at like what was it, like 3
Dude,
a.m.
it was 3 a.m.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
made about
something
300
dumb.
laps. I mean, and I think it just kind of burned into my brain. But so
Well,
what
those 3 a.m. test sessions just hit different.
they do, I think they burn like all these habits into your subconscious. So
Yeah,
what?
because you're so tired, you want to put as little effort in. So you're trying to be perfect so you don't have to wheel the car.
Yeah. So Robbie, you said that you don't like Knoxville. So what exactly are your expectations going in? If you don't like the track, I mean, you're gonna make laps. Obviously, you're gonna practice. I mean, what are your expectations really?
Well, like every other week, just qualifying. You got to qualify, and um, I'm a little scared that I'm not gonna qualify good. I'm not qualified good all season. But that track, especially for qualifying, you got to qualify. Like
Yes.
Port Royal was completely different. You could, make some spots maybe, but in the heats it was different. But
Yeah.
Knoxville, it's usually a train in the heats and maybe in the feature when it gets a little bit slick, it'll change. But I feel all right, I guess. I'm gonna turn a lot of laps and get used to it. But um, I feel all right since a decent finish at Port Royal. So it's confidence going into week 5.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what it is. Like once you gain the confidence there, and I'm sure you'll make a bunch of laps there. And
Hmm.
this iRacing thing is probably one of the biggest grind games there is. So it's pretty much grind or die. And I think there's gonna be a lot of few. I think there's gonna be some prizes in Knoxville this week upcoming. The Malfa Industry boys have been getting after it. Those guys have been there. They're close. I think they're close to a win possibly. Blake and Evan at it. They're always at it and fast.
Especially at Knoxville.
Especially at Knoxville. Evans he's good there. And I think there's going to be a few guys possibly up front that aren't usually up front. Hopefully, because Knoxville
Hopefully,
just
we're
I don't know. They
two
just
of them.
no, yeah, no. Knoxville's just a different animal, and it's a lot different than most tracks. I say that, and it's probably going to be the same lineup as it was last week, but you never know. And then it's a new week. There's a lot of things that have been changing here in the iRacing world in the past 3 weeks. I mean, I've seen a ton of stuff change, and I'm like, I try to keep up with it, and I don't at the same time. Probably at all. I really don't try to keep up with it. Besides the iRacing Dirt Talk, I look at the drama, scroll through.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Chase Barbara
Um,
going to Speed Ranch. That was big.
yeah, Chase. Yeah,
That was a big change, yeah.
there's a bunch of them now at Speed Ranch, and few guys still over at House of Speed. They just ended up one of them just won last night.
Yeah.
Sad to see Devin lose like that, but
Yeah.
and even like the D1RT guys, they've been digging lately. D Will's getting closer and closer. I think it's gonna be a good race. Hopefully next week.
I think we're getting at
I
that
would
point in
agree.
the season where, well, that point in the season and that point in the build where we're kind of, I think everybody's starting to figure it out, you know, especially with the opportunity to compete in Pro Series races where you really figure out how good your shit is. So, then you think you got something good and then you can't compete and then you go back and you grind and you try to figure it out and find something. So I think it's, I think it's going to really hopefully be, very competitive next week, and hopefully see some names up there like myself that haven't been up there
Shoot, I'd
yet.
like to see St. Clair up starting on the pole of Heat 3.
Yeah, that'd
That'd
be
Oh
be
pretty
cool.
cool.
shit!
That's what I feel bad for old St. Clair. He's had a rough season. Nathan's only wrecked him 6 times, but
Okay, okay,
no, no,
Jesus.
he's had a rough go, and I'd like to see him make the show. There's a few other guys that in the series I'd like to see start doing better, and it's a grind, and it's kind of like this week. I put in a bunch of laps, and I tested, and I grinded, and trust me, I ain't haven't grinded like that since probably beginning of old build last time, and I got better, and then Nathan grinded a little bit, and he got better, and I think that's what it's going to take for Knoxville. I think everyone's going to, especially week 5 coming up, and you got 5 weeks after that, and it's going to be
Halfway point.
do or die. Just to even make the Pro Series for next year and be locked in is a really tight battle right now, and I think it's going to awake a lot of guys, and people are really going to start getting on the hammer, and it's going to be some good racing, hopefully.
Well, you got anything else for Robbie Kiefer?
Not today.
All righty then. Well, Robbie, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure. Great guest. Good luck next week at Knoxville. Hopefully you do really well. Not as well as me and Kiefer, but hopefully you do really
Oh,
well.
wow, huh?
No, I hope it's a good race for you. And if
I'll
you,
race with you any day, Banana Man.
yeah,
Mm.
good old banana
Hey, just don't
man.
hit the inside wall.
Well, there's a berm this week. And
I
That's
got-
even worse. That's
let
even
me
worse.
tell you,
I don't-
I'm hitting the berm at least 4 times
Oh,
in the heat race.
well,
All
if
right,
you,
well, good luck to
So,
you guys, and
yep. We'll
thanks
see
for
you in the
having
next
me.
one. Yep, no
absolutely.
problem. It's been a pleasure having you on here.
Thank you.
All right, back to the 2-person here. That was a good guest. Robbie's
Yes.
really good. I'm happy for him, making the Pro Series in itself, and so far he's made 3 out of the 4. I'm happy for him. I hope he does well next week.
Yeah, no, good kid. He's been digging lately, and I think he'll be back up in front here soon, hopefully, for him. And it's nice seeing everybody, getting them on the show, talking to everybody.
Yeah, for sure. So how are you feeling? I mean, what's your I don't want to ask what your prediction is. I asked that the other day a couple episodes ago. I didn't really like that. But what's your expectations? I mean, I think we've stumbled upon something as far as speed goes, and we're going to continue to make laps. Yeah, Q Stuck is very
That's all I
fast.
need. Like, it's like the only thing I'll ever need ever again. It's probably Q Stuck. And then no, I'm just no, we found some dig there last week, and I think it's going to transfer over throughout the rest of the year, hopefully. And really just feeling the balance. I got to make some more laps in the feature set 'cause I feel like we struggled a little bit there after lap 25. Not tire wear wise. Tire wear, I felt we were pretty high up amongst most people. Just trying to get the balance right, and I was dipping on the right rear too much last week in the feature time, and I think me and Bokus talked about it and a few adjustments that we're gonna make, and I tried a little bit of it yesterday, and I think we're gonna have another solid week. Just gonna have to qualify well like we did last week, and stay consistent and keep digging because I really like to say if I got to put in the laps. So if I don't put in laps, I won't do it. But I'd like to get a top 5 this week. And I know that's gonna be really hard, but I think it's doable for myself, and I'm just gotta qualify, and then I'm gonna have to build some feature dig, and me and Bokus will get after that. And other than that, my goal, I guess you'd say, my real goal is for a top 10. Like the actual, if I grind, it's gonna be a top 5, which I probably will end up doing, and no, just I need to rerun these last 6 weeks. I got to get back on track to what the old D Keefe did, and that was just mainly consistency, and I was just always consistent last build, and I was consistently up front. I didn't win every race. I didn't lose every race, so I was consistent, just top 5s, just kind of always lingering, and kind of miss the lingering feeling. I want to get back to lingering, so. Or even competing back against with like Evan and Blake and those guys, and Rumsey and JD, and those guys have been digging lately, and those guys work hard, and I think we're gonna get there. I really do, and looking forward to this week at Knoxville. One of my probably better tracks. I'm gonna say that, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably qualify 20th.
Well, I mean, I'd say it's one of your better tracks. I know it is.
Yeah, and I don't know. I made some laps yesterday, and I'm starting to feel confident. I just need to make some more laps around the berm, so I don't kill the berm, and I don't have to kill Robbie again this week, which would be terrible. But we'll just make sure we kill Nathan this week
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
in
it's
the
just
feature.
yeah. Well, I got to get there first. I think it's just good to see the fruits of our labor. Like not trying to make excuses or anything. We didn't put in a lot of time, but we did put in time. But we've really stepped it up last week. And for me in
Grinded what
qualifying,
was supposed to be ground.
right. For me in qualifying, for you, uh, consistency throughout the entire event, it showed that it paid off. And whenever that happens, it makes you just want to grind even more.
Right.
So that's definitely. I mean, I think you got it in you for a top 5, 100%. Especially if you put in the time, like I know you can.
Shoot, I made
Personally,
1,500 laps last week. I'll do it again. No,
I'll
I
do
ain't
it
making
again.
1,500. I won't make 1,500, but I'll probably make another 1,000, and mainly just feature time. And I feel like we're the best car, and I mean we had the fastest lap of the race, which isn't something to really brag about, but we did have the fastest lap of the race in the feature Monday night, and it's stepping stone, and I think after a few more runs here and a few more late nights, and I think we'll be able to get it.
Yeah. Well, you had the fastest lap in the feature. I had the fastest lap in qualifying. Just want to point that out.
We have one lap speed, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, we
Watch
got it.
out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got it. My goal, at this point, it's just make a damn feature. But I like I said before, I have oddly, I have a good bit more confidence after last week. I think if I can put a solid night together, I told someone this the other day. I think it was my dad. It just feels like how it was whenever I first started iRacing, where I just didn't have a lot of experience. I couldn't put a full night together. I'd either qualify well and then not run well in a race, or I'd not do a good qualifying run and then do well in the race. I couldn't ever put together a full race. And I think if I can get some good laps in, some good practice in, I got confidence that I can do that. And I wanted to bring this up. I'm not sure how many people know this. For the moment that I started iRacing until Sunday, before Port Royal, I ran with low force feedback and I used one hand. And something told me to up the force feedback and bring the old right hand into the equation. And I swear to God, I haven't felt this smooth on this
The
build
right hand,
until yeah, the right hand. Someone asked me what that right hand was doing all those years, but I can't say that. But yeah, see, there's Catherine Poon. What were you doing with the other hand? I can't say, but I feel really smooth now. I don't know. It may be a fucking placebo effect. I don't know, but um, couple
I
that
don't even know
with
what a placebo effect is, dude. That's a big word for Elmo.
I think it's like gaslighting. I
I don't
think
even know
so.
what that is.
Yeah, I think you're
Is that like
gaslighting me right now.
like on the stove, like gaslight?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. I think it's about time to wrap this up. Hopefully, we can do better at Knoxville. We're coming up on the midway point of the season. I think we got it. I think we put in the
Yeah.
laps, put in the time. I think the set's good. We just got to put in the time, get all that practice in. I think we got a good shot at it.
I agree.
Me
But
too.
it's been real stream.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to episode 4 of the Plum Wild Recap. I'm Nathan Waddell. This
I am Damian Kiefer.
is Damian Kiefer. Thanks for tuning in. We will see y'all in the next one.